Do I have to say do I say where I come from or what?
You can if you want.
All right.
Alright. Wait a second. I don't want to say your last name wrong. Misialek?
Don't hurt yourself. Misialek.
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 Misialek?
I don't even know if I know how to pronounce it. to be honest.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Beside the Point. This is 24. Working our way up there. We got a very insightful episode for you today. I'm joined here by my good friend Shane Misialek.
Close enough. Yeah, that'll work.
Sorry about that. How you doing, dude?
Doing all right, man. Excited to be on your talk show.
Thank you.
I'm
Talk
passionate.
show.
I'm interested. Yeah, talk show.
Yeah.
Makes me feel important.
Right. It makes me feel important calling it a talk show. That's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. Well, I think what we're going to talk about today, obviously, is Bitcoin, which I think not a lot of people really know a whole lot about because it's kind
Or
of.
if they do know about it, there's a misunderstanding. of some
Absolutely.
kind about
I
it.
hardly
Right.
know much about it because it's a technology that's in its infancy, you would say.
Recently, since I've been going out to the bars, a lot of people my age love to talk about it, and it's fun to get to start talking about them, and then you soon find out, okay, they don't know anything about it.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to find
'Cause
people
when
who know a lot about it.
Yeah, when I think of-
honestly, I hate to sound conceited. I put a lot of hours in just reading about it. It's just piques my interest.
Right,
guess.
absolutely,
I don't
yeah.
even know what to do with
It's
all
very
this useless
interesting.
info now.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not getting paid for it or
Right.
anything like that, so I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, see, when I think of Bitcoin, dude, I think of I can go to like a Walmart and like the gift card aisle
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you could pick up a card or something and like scratch the back off of it, and, put it into your phone, and then you got a Bitcoin balance. Surely it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
that simple though, right?
No, it's not. It's not quite that simple, and it's not all. I mean, people just say, "Oh, it's just another digital currency. How's it different than credit cards and whatnot?" And that's kind of where the misunderstanding comes from. Is how the Bitcoin operates, and what's really important. Bitcoin's great and all, but Bitcoin is just an asset, an application, and what's really important is blockchain. That's kind of the key word you need to focus on is blockchain.
Now you mentioned credit cards. Like, is it a physical piece of plastic that's in your wallet? Bitcoin.
Maybe in the future, maybe there'll be some kind of device or something we use to just easily transfer, like QR codes. You know how we use QR codes today. We can easily transfer person to person a value, however much value it is. Today we store our value in banks, and if we ever need to take that value out, we either go to an ATM or we use our credit cards to transact value. But the difference between blockchain and the institutions, the banks, is that there's no middleman. Today our whole commerce, our whole marketplace is run by, I guess, intermediaries, middlemen, banks, credit card companies, big social media companies. They kind of control every facet of commerce because they see every transaction that happens and they record it, and they have a private record of the ledger, and they can make changes to that ledger. If someone hacks your bank account, for say, and you go and call them and say, hey, I didn't make these purchases.
Right.
They can just say, oh, well, okay, we'll take it off. That's a change to the ledger. Blockchain, you cannot change the ledger. It is impossible. It's irreversible. If you ever have to take money back, the only way to take money back is to just start a new transaction and send the money back.
Really? So Bitcoin is not something that can be stored in banks as of right now, at least.
The whole point of Bitcoin and blockchain, the underlying technology that runs it, is to eliminate banks. Well, not necessarily even eliminate banks, just to eliminate the third party that facilitates commerce. Banks are still useful for things like loans, mortgages. People will still need banks, and I mean, we'll still need to store physical, unique assets, pieces of art, pieces of furniture. I mean, that's we're still going to need banks. Local banks, though, they won't have the kind of stranglehold or power, though, they have on our financial world that they have today, though, because with blockchain, what's the word I'm looking for? It offers a decentralized form of commerce, which means everyone controls the ledger. everyone sees the ledger and what's on it. Everyone knows what's happening, and everyone validates every transaction.
Okay. It's kind of a peer-to-peer deal.
Exactly.
Now,
that's the whole point.
Okay. Now, so blockchain is not like a physical organization.
Brian said it was good when I put it this way. You know how we have an internet of information?
Right, correct.
Right? You know,
the World Wide Web.
Social media has been blowing up like crazy the past
absolutely.
few years. What if we had an internet of value?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Go into that a little more.
Okay. So today we have currencies that are run by our nation states, our governments and nation states. We have the U.S. dollar, we have the yen, we have the euro. And if I wanted to send $100 to my friend in Europe, you know, they would say, okay, we can do that. I would have to go through somebody. You know, I'd have to ask my bank to send however much money to him. And then they'd say, I also get 15% of your money for my services. You know, and then they're going to have to get the money over there, change it into euros. It also takes a long time, and the banking process is not quick. It takes weeks to get that money. Whereas the blockchain, if you did it with Bitcoin, it would be instant, and there would be nobody else involved. There would be no fees. You just send that money to that person, and it's that.
It's got to go. It's got to go through somebody, though, right?
Why?
I don't. I mean, like, how could you? How could you police this system, really?
Okay, so here's a good way. Here's a good. I'll give you a scenario. So you say you want to give your friends $10, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you and your friend are sitting in a room, and our normal version is that there's a third person, a bank, a facilitator, to watch, to validate that transaction, make sure that transaction is legitimate. You know, you're using a U.S. dollar. And that U.S. dollar, that bank is basically saying this U.S. dollar is legitimate. So what blockchain does is that you have your two people, and one wants to give $10 to the other person, right? Blockchain, there's hundreds, thousands of other nodes operating, and it's like having 100 other people in the room watching you give that $10 to that person, and all those people in that room record that transaction, that $10 going to that person. They write down what time it happens. They write down how much it was. They all make sure they all agree with each other that it was legitimate. That's kind of in comparison of what happens when you make a transaction on the blockchain, is that everybody's watching you.
Okay.
And nobody can make a change after it happens.
I see. So with the Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the currency that goes through blockchain, correct?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to just be Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin is, like I said, just an application.
Right.
It was just the first one.
So before we started recording, you read off a long list of different online currencies.
Oh, yeah.
Do all of those go through? Which you listed, what, like 15, 20 of them? Different ones?
Yeah.
Which did it all start with Bitcoin, or did they all kind of?
Yes. Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency. The first white papers were written by an unknown person or persons. Nobody knows who it is, who it was. They had the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, which just kind of makes this whole thing spooky. You know, this revolutionary idea. I mean, we're talking about
Satoshi Nakamoto. That's
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi, and you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm paying for it in Satoshis." If you ever hear that, it's just a Bitcoin term.
Right.
I'm paying for it in Bitcoins. You know, oh, you're paying in Satoshi.
Bitcoin slang.
You know, pass me some
Cool.
Satoshi. Yeah, yeah.
Pass me some Satoshi.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like that. I like it. Let me borrow a couple
Yes,
Satoshis,
yeah,
man.
pass those Satoshi. But yeah, so he was kind of the godfather, and he disappeared after a while, after kind of bringing up this idea. The name, the Satoshi Nakamoto character that people had become friends with on these forums that nobody really knew, kind of disappeared. Which is kind of spooky, because this idea is revolutionary. It's going to change the world. I mean, in my opinion, this technology is what I call, what did I write down here? A general purpose technology. Okay, and what a general purpose technology? Here's some other examples: the steam engine, electricity, the internet. It's going to alter society, economy, culture on a massive scale, because it's going to change. It's going to fundamentally change the way we store and transact value, and change the way we trust each other individually.
And you were talking about shutting all these banks down, or taking all this money away from the banks. I wonder
it's not shutting the banks down or being enemies of the banks. Certain banks, yes, international banks, mostly banks that have a strong stranglehold on the stock market and just have a way more money than they should have.
Yep.
Local banks will still be necessary and will still exist and will still help local business and local economy, and that's kind of the reason they existed in the first place. Was to stimulate local business and local economy, and it just kind of grew out of proportion, and our commerce has gotten complex enough to the point to where we need to digitize our assets. We're living in an archaic central banking system that has been used for the past, God, I don't know how many years. I think Rome was still using, like early Rome was still using the central banking system back when Caesar was in charge. So that just goes to show you, we have computers now.
Right, yeah.
It's time to change things up a little bit.
Absolutely, so, it's coming. It's inevitable, really.
I think one of the main reasons we don't see the adoption is because the people who are in power, the people who have had the power, who have run those banks, J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the names of these big banks, these are private companies. These people do not want to give up their lifestyle. I'll tell you that right now.
Absolutely, that's probably why.
And they won't give it up without a fight.
Mr. Nakamoto disappeared, man.
Exactly.
There's
a reason this guy or guys, group of people that may have all been being they probably not wanted to be known who they were.
Right.
They did a good job.
Yeah.
Because they knew that this technology would bring about doors, open doors for a lot of people. And it's at that point, it's when will we walk through them?
So, Bitcoin. Here's something I don't really understand. So when you say Bitcoin, it's not Bitcoins.
Mm-mm.
Now, when you buy, how do you buy Bitcoin? Like, in what increments do you buy Bitcoin with? Is it like I know it's not a physical coin, obviously.
So okay, it's not a physical entity. It's an online asset. It's a digital asset. Okay, you're buying money online. You can't touch it, and humans. Oh God, we hate that we can't touch it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's one of the things we love about our worldly possessions is the fact that we can touch it and say this is here.
Right. This is mine.
We know we own it. That's why we fucking love gold. But
what will Bitcoin do for gold? What will happen to gold?
Gold will still be a precious metal. It'll still be worth something. People could probably buy gold with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
At the point to where Bitcoin is valuable enough. I bet people are doing that right now. It's been done probably. I can't think of anything that hasn't been bought or sold already with Bitcoin.
Really?
There are basketball players in I can't remember what country, Croatia maybe. Mm-hmm. They are being contractually paid in Bitcoin.
In Bitcoin?
Part of their contracts, they're being paid in Bitcoin. Because some of the players said they'd rather be paid in Bitcoin, and their country was like, okay.
All right.
The team was like, sure, we can pay for that. Like, if you want to play.
I don't know about all that yet.
It's just a contract agreement. If you want to play there, or if you want me to play here, I want some Bitcoin. We'll make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
Now, is it possible for blockchain or Bitcoin to crash?
A lot of people talk about that, and
you invest in Bitcoin, correct?
What if Bitcoin crashes? What if Bitcoin goes to zero? And my biggest question is how.
Right.
How would that? I can't really fathom. Sure, it can go up and down and it can fluctuate, but for it to go to zero. Theoretically, I don't know how. I'm not an economist. I'm not a Bitcoin expert. Nobody really is yet. Mm-hmm. But my theory is that literally everyone would have to sell all their Bitcoin at the same time. I just don't see that happening. You have to talk about the Winklevoss twins who own most of the Bitcoin in the world, selling all their Bitcoin at one time, and all the other Bitcoin whales selling all their Bitcoin, and then all the tiny people who own tiny amounts of Bitcoin selling all their Bitcoin at one time. It's everybody losing faith in the system at one time. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't.
That answers my question.
But when you talk about a system run by one entity, an entity that we continually distrust, I lose faith in that system.
And we talk about all these people and they themselves owning Bitcoin, but there's not an infinite amount of Bitcoin.
No, Bitcoin is actually going to come to only 21 million Bitcoin will be created.
Right.
It's going to stop at that amount.
Have that many already been created?
No, they're at about 16. I think they're a little over 16.8 million right now.
16.8 million. And is it possible for one person or one large corporation to buy up all of the Bitcoin?
No, it doesn't really work like that. You can't just go up and buy as much as you want. You have to, for Bitcoin to be created, you have to mine it, and mining is a little more complicated. You have to have computing power. I mean, you have to have lots of computers. You got to have fans. It takes a lot of electricity and money to mine Bitcoin.
Yeah, let's talk about Bitcoin mining.
I mean, I'll go as far into it as I can.
Yeah, do it.
I don't want to.
Please, because this is kind of a new subject for me too that I'm just now starting to understand as well.
Okay, so yeah, Bitcoin mining. What mining is basically the creating of new Bitcoins after validating transactions. So there are people that buy computers just to mine Bitcoin, and they act as nodes or servers. And I don't really understand the exact details of how it works, but every time you validate a transaction or close off a block and create a new block on the blockchain, you're awarded a certain amount of Bitcoin if you're a miner, and it randomly selects the miner or something like that. And different blockchains have different protocols on how they pay their miners. Some blockchains don't have mining at all. Mm-hmm. You know, some blockchains completely eliminate the mining. Some people believe that mining creates an imbalance, that people can control the market with mining. That it gives too much powers to the miners. Kind of, you know, they have most of the Bitcoin, so when they sell, it drops. When they buy, it goes up. You know, they kind of have too much power. So some people don't even like mining. Other than that, I don't know how much I can tell you.
Right.
Now
you said they're awarded Bitcoin. Is it?
They're
is
literally
Bitcoin distributed in percentages, or is it
decimals?
Okay, decimals.
Percentages, decimals.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
I would say decimals is a better word to use. So you don't get paid if Bitcoin is worth 20,000, right? And you're a miner and you're going to get awarded Bitcoin, it's probably not going to give you 2 Bitcoin. That's 40,000. It's not going to hand you $40,000. You know, it's going to give you however much Bitcoin is worth the right amount of money, depending on how much you earned on that time. And it's a small amount. It's not like they're just giving you money on money, but you are making money. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it also costs money to mine. So while you are contributing, keeping the blockchain, that's kind of what the miners do. They contribute in keeping the blockchain running, and there's an expense to that. And because of that expense, they're awarded Bitcoin. That's kind of the it makes up for them putting into the system. You know.
Wow, that's so fascinating, dude. And so you said, how much is one Bitcoin worth?
Right now, a little under 10 grand. I could check. Where did I put my phone? Always.
That's wild, dude. One Bitcoin, 10 grand.
One Bitcoin, 10 grand.
So you would have
just
buy
about right now,
like a fraction of a single Bitcoin.
Yeah, if you had about $100, you could buy like 0.025 Bitcoin or something like that.
Okay, that makes more sense. How
so
there's only 21 million.
Here's a little example. So I have a little bit left over in my Coinbase account, right?
So you've invested.
Oh yeah. So here's an example. I have $43.22 worth in Bitcoin right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how much you've invested, or that's how much it's
well, that's how much this Bitcoin is worth right now.
Okay.
The dollar amount fluctuates. The Bitcoin amount never fluctuates. Okay. How much Bitcoin I have is 0.00, so it's already down 2 decimal places. 0.0045, blah 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 blah, whatever, right? And that can fluctuate depending on what the price of Bitcoin is overall. That's the beauty of the Bitcoin wallet. There's no personal information.
So it's anonymous.
Yeah. I mean, it's not entirely. You can find people, but man, you got to try.
Yeah.
And you got to know what you're doing. It's hard. It's hard. So yeah, people like to call Bitcoin anonymous. It's not entirely. There are currencies out there. There's already so many currencies out there that pose to fix all of Bitcoin's problems. I mean, and that's just how technology works. Once a good one comes up, there's going to be people out there that want to make it better. It's simple as that. And all these new coins are coming out to basically be the next Bitcoin, I guess. I don't know. Maybe just be a part of the change.
See, so how does that work? How do all of these different currency types
fit in together?
Yeah.
I've been asked that question a lot. So in my theory,
if one person accepts Bitcoin, do they accept all these other online currencies as well?
So how it works? Here, I'll pull up my Binance account. I own a few different coins, so I can give you an example. But every coin is separate from each other. They don't necessarily operate on different blockchains. Like there's the Ethereum blockchain. There's a lot of coins that run off of the Ethereum blockchain. They can still run off the same blockchain. There's a lot of different coins that run off the Bitcoin blockchain, but they are separate coins or separate currencies, and you can exchange the currencies between each other. For whatever reason you may want to do that is beyond me. We still haven't got to the point to where we're creating practical applications to actually use this currency. That's kind of the problem right now. We have this idea. We have this great idea and this great technology. It's very similar to like when we first created computers in the 40s. We had I don't know if you knew we had computers in the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, like the big ass ones on the wall.
Exactly,
take up a whole wall.
And that's the exact reason why you didn't see them in your house, or you didn't see them. They weren't adopted by companies until the 80s, is because we couldn't fit them on our desk.
Right.
They weren't practical yet, and that's kind of the problem you see here. We're just trying to jump a roadblock. Trying to find practical uses for Bitcoin and stabilize the market a little bit.
Right, because Bitcoin came on the scene
less than 10 years ago.
Really?
Less than 10 years ago.
I thought it was way more recent.
So there are no professionals in this.
Right. 10 years ago. That's a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah,
I thought it was maybe a year.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't heard of it until maybe 8 months ago.
Bitcoin was created in 2000. The first Bitcoin transaction happened in 2009, I think.
Do you know what it was?
It was between Satoshi Nakamoto and a guy named Hal Finney.
And a plane ticket to get the...
Well, it was it was a small amount. It wasn't very large. But it was from Satoshi Nakamoto to a guy named Hal Finney. And the reason I know this is because I watched a documentary.
What was it? Do you know? What was...
I don't know
what was exchanged?
It was just Bitcoin. It was the first Bitcoin exchange. It was just person-to-person Bitcoin exchange.
Right, but was something purchased, or did he just give?
He just sent money.
Really?
He just sent an asset from one person to another with nobody else watching, with nobody else accepting, saying, that's okay.
Yeah.
It was just them.
That's wild, dude. That's wild.
Crazy. And they actually, so about that Satoshi Nakamoto and Hal Finney, the first transaction, I actually watched a documentary called Banking on Bitcoin on Netflix. And, they delved deep into, who was Satoshi Nakamoto, was it this guy, or all these guys?
You never see his face, though.
No, well, it's kind of funny because they find a dude named Satoshi that is actually named Satoshi Nakamoto in California near Silicon Valley, and all these reporters.
Which that's where Bitcoin was created, Silicon Valley?
Well, not necessarily, but it's believed that, during the 80s and 90s, you've got during the Silicon Valley time, you've got all these computer nerds hanging around together with all these crazy ideas. They're our age. They're kind of rebels. They're cypherpunks, is what they called them. And they hung out online. They came up with ideas with each other online, and it was just kind of a birthing place of a bunch of crazy ideas in Silicon Valley. And I think that's kind of where it all came from. All these guys kind of got together, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the deep web, but
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's forums on the deep web of Satoshi Nakamoto and a bunch of different people talking to each other about it, about coming up with a currency that eliminates the need for a third party. Very specific things that show that they're working on something, that they were working on Bitcoin.
Right.
They never used the term Bitcoin, but you can show that you see they're working on it in the forums and stuff. And they actually found the Hal Finney guy, and I think he was dying from Lou Gehrig's disease when they found him. He had ALS, which is
old guy.
Yeah, which deteriorates all your muscles but leaves your mind intact, completely intact. So they were able to ask him questions, and he could.
Is that what Stephen Hawking has?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Cool.
And so they were able, which is kind of weird, right? Two really important people to get info. Yeah. But anyways, so they were basically just asking him yes or no questions. That's all they could do, and his answer yes or no. And they finally got to the point where they asked him, are you Satoshi Nakamoto? And he just kind of laughed.
Ah, it's so interesting.
He just kind of looked at the camera and laughed, like almost like I can't you believe it? I can't. He was like almost like, you think it's me? Like, that's crazy. And he just laughed and said no, and that was it. The ghost was lost forever.
Dude, that's so interesting, man.
The ghost was lost forever. Hal Finney, if Hal Finney knows him, or if Hal Finney was a part of it, he's the only guy that knows.
Right.
And he's probably gone now.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
That is so wild.
So nobody will ever know where the birthplace of Bitcoin and the idea of blockchain came from, but it's going to change our world.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
And if you can't write a movie about that, like,
yeah, I'm sure there will be. There will be.
Right.
So how do you invest, or how do you purchase a Bitcoin? Where do you go to do that?
Oh man, do you have the Cash App?
No, I don't.
If you have Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin on Cash App. You can.
So what is Cash App is? I don't even know what Cash App is really.
It's like if I wanted to send $10 from me,
okay.
It's like one of those third-party tools.
You can do that shit like over Snapchat now, right? You can send money to people over Snapchat.
Exactly. Big social media companies have actually taken a grip on our financial world, which doesn't sit right with me. They're acting as another third party, which, of course, everybody wants to be a part of that third party because it's easy street.
Oh yeah, sure.
I mean, it's easy street. You're making money off of other people's money.
Yep.
So, I don't think it's completely crazy to see us eliminate that third party. I think it's useless anyway. Thinking outside the lines isn't always the worst thing in the world.
So is that the only place you can buy it, or?
No, honestly, you can almost buy it anywhere nowadays. There's an ATM in Midwest City. You can buy up to $9,500 worth of Bitcoin.
Really?
You can stick your credit card in.
Boop. Okay.
And send it straight to your. If you have a Bitcoin address set up, type in your address. Boom.
So it's not like you go to Bitcoin.com.
Or if sometimes your wallet has a QR code, you just hold your QR code up to the machine.
Damn. You just buy Bitcoin.
Straight out of an ATM, man.
I'm probably gonna have to do that now.
And there's apps that you can buy it off of. I mean, I just
want to be part of this revolution.
It's really not hard. They're making it really, really easy.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to stop making money.
And so you can buy it, obviously. How would you go about selling it, or?
Honestly, buying. I say buying. It's
like
not
an auction process, or
you can buy it. It's just like you have to buy it in small amounts right now. The Bitcoin market is just so overloaded because it's so popular. Right. New people buying into it.
So you're not buying it from a person. You're buying it from more or less. I don't even from the blockchain. You're
buying it essentially from a miner.
And not like a miner, not like a 16-year-old, but
a miner mines it, and it gets put into circulation, and upon that circulation, it arrives to you at some point.
Where do you think they mine this stuff at? Some
at
underground. Oh, really? House. Just like hackers?
You can buy a mining equipment on Amazon. Everything you need. You can buy. It's labeled Bitcoin mining equipment.
What is that process? Like, how is it like coding or?
I don't know what it all entails. I just know it costs. You got to have a lot of electricity. You got to have a lot of computing power, and you got to have fans ready to keep your computers from overheating. Because there's a lot of transactions you're gonna have to be keeping records of. I mean, constantly, all day. You got to keep your computer on all day. If you want to be a miner, you got to have your computer on all day, recording every transaction that happens in the world. And while mining coins. which isn't easy.
And in return, you get...
And to mine coins, your computer has to solve a series of very, very complex algorithms over and over and over and over again to unlock a new block for new transactions to start.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Crazy.
How does the first person figure that out, you know?
Satoshi. Like I said, it probably wasn't one guy. Like I said, it was probably a group of guys that all these just weird-ass minds getting together and we're like, we can take down the banking system or some shit like that.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
That's so crazy, dude.
Just simple, like,
that's
simple
so
as
crazy.
that.
Wild, wild west of the internet, man.
That's kind of what it is right now. It's really the wild, wild west of, if there was a stock market that nobody was looking after, that's it. Like, nobody can arrest you for anything bad happening. That would be it.
So, okay. And now Bitcoin wallet. Is that what you were just showing me on your phone there, or?
That was one of my wallets. Yes. Coinbase. Coinbase is one of the more popular wallets.
Now, is that an app you download, or?
Yeah, just a simple app you can buy and sell from Coinbase. They're actually an exchange, but they offer wallet services, meaning they give you the ability to make your own wallet. They don't control it. They can't touch it. They don't know your passcodes. They can't get into it.
Yeah, bullshit.
They don't have anything to do with your wallet.
You can figure out how to mine a Bitcoin. You can figure out your wallet password, you know?
But yeah, it's very interesting, and I highly recommend anybody who is interested to keep getting interested.
Yeah, it's fascinating
because it's
so mysterious now.
It really is. It really is, and that's part of the reason I got so into it.
Yeah.
It all happened actually when Aaron and I, Aaron, my roommate Aaron, one Thanksgiving we each put in $25 to put into a gambling website to bet on the football games. We were just like, we're gonna bet on the football games, make them worth watching, and we ended up winning like $500-600, and the only ways to get paid, and this company's based out of China, so because gambling's illegal in the U.S. The only way you can get paid is if they mail you a check.
Is this Bovada?
Bovada, yeah. Yeah,
Bovada.
So the only way they can pay you is if they mail you a check, or what I saw back then, by Bitcoin. That was the only way. And I didn't want to get mailed a check because that was just sketchy to me, you know. And I didn't want to give them my address or anything like that. So I looked into Bitcoin. I wasn't really sure how it worked or what it was, and that's just kind of how it all started. And once I started looking into it, it just opened my eyes. Yeah. And I just had to keep looking more and more into it.
That's
crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because Matt also, Clausen, he's invested, right? He owns some Bitcoin.
I keep trying to get him to buy into some.
I hear him talking about it all the time.
Oh, he loves to talk about it. Yeah. He loves to talk about it, but he hasn't dipped his toes in. I keep trying to get him to, but not quite yet.
He will, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he will. And it may not even. I don't think he should invest in the Bitcoin at this point. There's so many other affordable, smaller coins that people like us can get into, and look for bigger opportunities. Bitcoin is just very expensive right now. If you're trying to get into it and make any sort of gain, you've really got to have a lot of capital now to do anything.
How long do you think it'll take before we start seeing convenience stores and grocery stores
implementation?
Yeah, and them implement the Bitcoin.
That's a good question. That's the big question. To answer that question, you have to ask yourself: are our institutions, the people who are middlemen, will they accept this new idea, this new technology, or will there be change-resistant institutions?
I think they're probably change-resistant.
Because if you do take away a lot of these powers that these middlemen powers that they have on us right now, you're taking away not only a lot of the power and money that they currently have, but a lot of the jobs that people have in the banks become useless, and credit card companies become useless. So, and that's the scary thing about change is you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Right,
because Amazon implemented that thing where you don't have to go through a checkout. You just go in, you grab your groceries. You put it in a bag, you walk out, and it calculates it, and it pays through like your Amazon Prime account.
Really?
There's no need to go to a cashier or go through the whole checkout process, waiting in lines or anything. So that's.
And see, that's what I see. That blockchain gets us closer to that world of there is no work.
Mm-hmm.
Work. You know what I mean? There's no reason to go out and be an accountant.
Right.
Because everything on their ledger is recorded and irreversible. And people keep track of their own record books and stuff, you know.
Yeah, computers. We're damn close to computers just doing all that for us.
Exactly, you know? Exactly. And there's gonna, but when you come in, and when something this revolutionary can change people's lifestyle, and when people are already comfortable with the lifestyle that they have, there will be resistance.
Oh yeah,
there will be resistance. You just don't know how and where and how big the resistance will be. You know, that's kind of the question. I think there could be wars fought. I think it could go anywhere from, you know, it running smoothly and us accepting it. We aren't really accepting it right now because we see other countries implementing it in all kinds of ways. And
so it's a worldwide thing, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, that's why I wasn't sure if it was created in California or not.
You'll never see it in our media because it's the last thing these big banks want to talk about is financial freedom for the individual.
Kind of like the whole net neutrality thing, man. It's like you never saw any news coverage on it at all. They want you to go buy a mortgage and get a credit card and put you on interest. Yep.
Because that's how they make their money. And that's kind of what we become accustomed to. And change is imminent.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people aren't going to be ready for it, which is almost scary too.
Right. What do you think, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
I mean, we already see it happening. I'd say in about 5, 10 years, you'll really start seeing some real changes. 10 years when you start seeing politicians change. 15 years, yeah.
Yep.
When policies will start changing, that would be my best guess. Is if anything happens, it'll be about 10 years down the road.
Do you think this could possibly wipe out paper money, the American dollar? Do you think that will become irrelevant?
Man.
I don't think, obviously, that's not going to be in the next 5, 10 years.
You know...
but eventually it'll all be online currency.
Maybe. I'm trying to find a reason to say no, but I can't.
Right. So,
you know,
the American dollar, the euro, all of the yen, none of that will exist anymore. It'll all be through one online currency.
The only reason we really have cash right now, the only reason we make a transaction with cash is if we're buying something illegal, or we're giving something to our friends. You know, if we need to pay them back for something, or leaving a tip or something like that. When tips can be done online now, that's not impossible.
God, what is that? I wonder, because I bartend. I wonder if can somebody tip me in Bitcoin?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
How would you go about that, though?
Okay, so say a company has a chip that you slide your card through,
right?
Or a device that you slide your card through, or your Bitcoin card or whatever. Or you use your QR code to put your wallet on there. And it says, you paid for your transaction, you paid for your meal. Would you like to leave a tip?
Yeah.
For this bartender.
I'll give you 0.0000136 percentage of a Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Oh God, you always take care of me, man.
You always
That's wild.
Take care of,
That's so wild, man.
Hop me those Satoshis.
Yeah. Pay in Satoshis. That's crazy. I got to look into this Satoshi Nakamoto guy because that's the most fascinating part to me is that he's just anonymous.
That really is. Yeah, if you have the chance to go watch Banking on Bitcoin on Netflix, I highly recommend it.
I will. I definitely will.
It's just informative, man.
Yeah.
It's really informative, and I think this is going to be a big part of our future, and it's good to know about it anyways.
Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Shane, thank you very much, man. That kind of gave me a better understanding of the whole thing.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Glad I could be.
I feel like you were going for a shake the hand thing.
Yeah,
we'll go ahead.
We'll
go ahead and do that.
That was kind of a look. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. Well, thank you guys for watching. Again, that was Shane, good friend of mine.
That's how we do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you wanted to pitch something. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So there is a vote coming up for medical marijuana in our state. Yes, believe it or not, this year in June.
Oklahoma.
Let me pull up my computer here real quick, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. While you do that, remember, guys, if you would like to subscribe, you should do that for sure. At 100 subscribers, we're going to do some merchandise that we'll probably be giving away for free because we're not going to make you pay for it yet. We just want to kind of get ourselves out there, our brand out there. So we're at 92, I believe. If Shane would create a YouTube account, which is 2018, dude, I don't know why you don't have one, we'd be at 93 subscribers, very close to 100. So if you guys can help us out with that, we'll give you some free shit. So, thank you.
All right, so state bill for medical marijuana, I'm pretty sure, my computer's loading up right now, I'm pretty sure it's bill 788. I know it's in June. But yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, pretty broad or straightforward.
Just
medical,
flat out medical marijuana.
Yeah, flat out. You're able to carry up to 2 or 3 ounces on your persons if you have a card.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
Now, is that through hospitals, or what do you think we'll see some dispensaries popping up, or?
Oh well, I mean, yeah, the dispensaries will pop up, but
I think that's like farther away than fucking Bitcoin.
We'll have dispensaries, but the only people who can buy from dispensaries will be people with medical cards.
Right.
So it's not like we're gonna have them around every corner like Colorado will have them, but they'll be more. Look at them as more of a pharmacy than a dispensary yet.
Right.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Smoke up, dude.
But yeah, if you're trying to come to the dispensary, come to my house.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, we'll leave that in there, man. If you want to give them your number and your address.
I'm trying to pull up where. Okay, so you go to, if you don't know where to register to vote, you can find out at ok.gov, and basically just print out a voter registration form, and you can either print it out or I think you can download it and fill it out online and send it in to them, and I think they can also tell you where you need to go to vote. ok.gov, simple as that. Figure out where you need to vote. Question 788, medical marijuana, June 2018. Make sure you get it at least a month before, because you have to have your voter registration card at least 30 days ahead of time before you can vote in the next election.
Yeah, and this is a fun one. This is a fun one.
This is for us. This is for us millennials, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm not for most of the viewers, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See, I'm glad because I'm not a huge weed smoker, honestly.
Right.
But I'm still down for the cause. Just
it's more than just about just having bud to smoke.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of people with problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can't get
deserve
help.
it.
And my family, I get to see it firsthand. So it's kind of actually near and dear to me, and I hope it pulls through because I just don't like seeing the regime the pill companies have on our medical system right now. It's pretty messed up that you can't find alternatives.
Yeah, this weed nonsense, it's almost barbaric how they just resist and resist
so
and resist.
Barbaric. It's so barbaric. People are lab rats to these companies, man. It's sad. It's sad. So, question 788.
Vote. Oh, we vote.
Yes.
Voting yes on it?
Vote yes.
Vote yes on 788.
June 2018.
June 26th.
June 26th. June 26th, 2018. Question 788.
788. Vote yes. Yeah.
And we'll all get high.
Is that it, Jane? You got anything else?
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity, the
man.
platform.
Thank you for the
awesome.
enlightenment.
Yeah. Glad I could be here. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Thanks, guys. Bye.